Good morning. And good morning to whoever is watching online as well, Sandra. So last week we heard the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, young men who had been taken into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. In this story, we can see their character and their integrity. When Nebuchadnezzar was forcing everyone to bow down and worship a colossal statue of himself, or else face the fiery furnace, these guys chose the fiery furnace rather than worship anyone besides the one true God. And this is significant because the reason God sent the Jews into exile was because they had turned away from him to worship idols. So they got thrown in, and they were joined by someone else, either an angel or Jesus himself, and no one was burned except the soldiers who threw them in. Here is a message from the prophet Jeremiah to the exiles in Babylon. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. God sent this message to them to remind them that he had not given up on them, but rather he had a purpose for them and a purpose for their time in exile. The message goes on. This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my gracious promise to bring you back. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. So God had a purpose to do something in their hearts, a kind of transformation. Interestingly, there was also a transformation in Nebuchadnezzar's heart. And I'm sure that he considered these guys' refusal to worship him as a kind of trial. Certainly he was lividly angry at them. But he came out of it worshiping Yahweh, notably someone other than himself. Likewise, God has a purpose that he wants to use our trials for. This is what James says. Consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. True confession, I'm not there yet. Because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete. God's purpose is that we would develop perseverance and maturity, and that our faith and love would grow, and that we'd be transformed to become like Jesus. My favorite quote from the sermon last week was this: there's a real struggle we go through as we walk with Jesus towards maturity, trusting him and learning from him. The struggle is the arena in which we are shaped. So we hate it, but it's also very important. Jeff also reminded us that it's easy to look at biblical characters who are exemplary in some way and see them as perfect, as spiritual giants, as like way beyond us, and we're just down here compared to them. But we need to take into account the pain and the character development that preceded their story. We know that the whole experience of being conquered by Babylon, seeing their country ransacked and destroyed, being taken away to live in a land of their captors, all of this would have been heartbreaking and devastating. Psalm 137 describes it. By the rivers of Babylon, we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. The growth group question for last week was this: describe something you're going through right now or have gone through in the past that has acted as a crucible and a catalyst for growth. Thinking of trials as a catalyst for growth helps me feel something a little more closer to joy about them. I can feel purposeful about growing in character and becoming more like Jesus. Here are some excerpts from Psalm 126 and 130, which are set in the time after the Jews returned back to Babylon. In these Psalms, from Babylon back to Jerusalem, in these Psalms, we can see transformation. These are prayers of people who have been humbled in their heart, they're acknowledging God, and they're looking to God for their strength and their hope. Psalm 126. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were filled with songs of joy, and it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. Psalm 130. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. If you kept a record of sins, who could stand? But with you there's forgiveness. Therefore you are revered. O Israel, put your hope in the Lord, for with him is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He himself will redeem Israel from all their sins. These last words very much look forward to Jesus. This is what the angel said to Joseph. You are to name Jesus because he will save his people from their sins. Jesus is the one we have our eyes on, and he is the one who is transforming us in the crucible of our trials.